What's interesting is that the philosophy that Paul Gilmore, Stan Aronoff had back then was 5 and 6, 5 to 6 years and then out. So that 5 and out, that 6 and out, always had a process of where people would come in at a low level, train, get to a high level, leave. Okay, and that training process made them better consultants, made them better, because usually what happens, somebody would go work in a House or the Senate, and John Mahaney from the Retail Merchants would hire them, and then they get even more training, and then they go to a different association. Because this world of independent lobbyists really didn't exist until Denny Witnowski and Paul Tips came into play. When Celeste was elected in 1982, there were only 2 real independent lobbying firms in town. One was Kent McGue, and the other was John O'Grady, a Republican and a Democrat. Celeste comes in, and there's this proliferation of independent contract lobbyists, Paul Tips, Denny Witnowski, a number of other people come in, and they really gave birth to the independent contractor. When I came out in 1986, in December of 1986, there was only one real Republican firm in town, and that was Kent McGue. And I actually marketed myself as the alternative Republican firm. Okay, and that's how few there were. So all these younger guys who were involved in the cross training, who came in at lower levels as grunts and moved on to campaign managers, and then moved on to strategists, and went through this whole process that usually occurred in a 5 or 6 year period. Those individuals became quite knowledgeable about races. We didn't use outside sources. I mean, we didn't go have somebody do our direct mail. We did it ourselves. The reason we did it ourselves is that we had 110 employees. Why can't 110 employees devote time after work, and process this? Why can't they all participate in risk? Because the risk is that if we lose, you lose your job. So why not get everybody involved? But instead of just making them ghosts, robots, give them a task. We had 6, 7 people who pulled the sample, wrote the questions, got them approved by Jim on the questions for the poll. So all these people learned, and they would do the printouts for the polls. We'd tell them do 3 ways, 4 ways, whatever we needed. They were all learning a new skill. And then they would go say, I'm kind of tired of this. Can I go do some direct mail? I want to design a direct mail. And you would let them go do it. So that whole generation of kids learned from not only seeing the personalities. I think that you'll never find 3 men who were better to their staffs than Paul Gilmore, Stan Aronoff, and Tom Van Meter. They didn't care about their personalities or their the wanting to have all the power. They gave it away. They let these kids, and we were kids, they gave us the ability to learn more about anything we wanted to. And they would let us go do our own research, and nobody said no to us. No staffer said, no, you can't do that. You know your place. You don't have to worry about all this self-control, dominate everything, because when you're working as a team and everyone's involved, everyone does have a willingness to go even further. And that's what we were looking for when we were doing things on the cheap. Later on, as politics and domination because of lines and money, we've taken for granted the fact that there's a whole host of people that are young and are dying to learn about it, but you don't really get them involved. So what happens is that they see that people stay for 10 years and they leave. These kids come in, they think that they're an LSE intern, they put in a year, they work in somebody's office for another year, and then all of a sudden they're now political consultants. They don't know anything about the budget, they don't know anything about real issues, they don't know anything about races, but they're going to go be a lobbyist. And it is humorous for me to watch, because it is a time where you should have, can you imagine if we would have bought 30 years ago, when we took the Senate we took the Senate in 1984, 34 years later, if we would actually owned a 20,000 square foot warehouse, and we were processing our own direct mail. We had our own TV studio. As the price of campaigns went up, we would have kept ourselves constant. And we didn't do it. So when everybody, think about this, there were 20, in just this last reporting period for the semi-annual report, there were 26,465 people who contributed $17 million in 6 months. And all that money goes to the same individuals who complain about the political process being pay to play. TV stations, newspapers, print media, all that stuff is there, but we're also at the same place where we're not keeping our costs down. We're not keeping it down because everybody wants to make a bunch of money. My goal when I came out of the office, and I started at $14,300. When I left, I was making $54,000. When I came out, I wanted to make $54,000. I thought that'll be just fine. I'll make 54. Now today, you inflate that, it's a much bigger number. But people are staying here much longer, and it's causing an inexperience. The term limits is bad enough as it is. A lot of the people that are are walking through this process now, they're 8 years in the House and 8 years in the Senate, if they're lucky enough to get to the Senate, still don't have the same kind of experiences that I saw with a Stan Aronoff, a Paul Gilmore, a Vern Reif, a Joanne Davis. They just don't have it, and they lack the ability to know all of it, because by the time they figure out what it's like here, they're gone. By the time they figure out that their staff's doing a good job, they decide to leave, rather than having this pre-planned kind of six and out mentality when you knew that you're going to be going. On the 5th year, when I wanted to leave, Aronoff said to me, "You can't go." It was an interesting story of where I'm on a boat on the Ohio River. It was a houseboat that Barry Levy owned, and I was doing budget work with Stanley. It was in the spring, and I was waiting, all day long. As soon as we get to dinner, we went to Mike Fink's. We pulled up the boat, went to Mike Fink's right there. Stanley orders a martini, and I ordered my normal scotch and water. And Barry's there with his wife, and Stanley's there with his wife. I'm there alone. I say to Stanley as he's drinking his martini, I go, "I'm leaving." He takes his martini, slams it down on the table, breaks the stem, but he holds the top of the glass. And he goes, "No, you're not." And I go, "Well, I need to. It's my, kind of 5 and out kind of deal. It's time to go." And he goes, "I don't know why I need you to stay. I need you to stay 1 more year. Now let's make this clear. I can either make you a millionaire or I can make you poor. Which one do you want?" And so I stayed. And ultimately, 1986 rolls around, and we all know what occurred in 1986 was the Shaft-Rat Van Meter race, which tested the loyalty of the caucus, which tested the loyalty of the staffs. Half of my staff left because they were aligned with Tom. So I lost a lot of the guys who were with me in '84 about getting the majority back, but when it came time to that war, they picked the side that they should have picked, and I picked the side I should have picked.